Okay, so we are on air. Hopefully everyone can hear us. I think you guys are all in here or starting to join. I don't know if there's a way you can let us know, maybe in the chat
Couple hands.
and things pop up. Great, awesome. Okay, so we are recording this webinar tonight. My name is Kelsey Nyman. I'm the coordinator of student communications and family programs. So we bring this webinar to you tonight with Stephen Dolan, the coordinator of orientation programs. We will be happy to answer any of your questions in the chat or at the end of this webinar, but I will let Stephen tell you what he has to tell you tonight in case that he will answer some of your questions through his presentation. So thank you all for joining. Welcome to Montclair State University. I know that your students are coming in for the fall semester and it's a busy, busy time and an exciting time as well. So we're happy to share information on how to get your student ready for orientation. And yeah, well, Stephen, take it away.
Alrighty, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining. As Kelsey mentioned, I know it's a busy time of year, and with your student entering Montclair State University, I know there's a lot of questions related to orientation, potentially move-in, class schedules. This is going to be an orientation-focused webinar. I do have some information related to other onboarding requirements, but hopefully that type of information is expected. So this will be your guide to orientation. My screen is shared, and I just want to appreciate all of you for joining me this evening for this webinar. When Kelsey approached me to do this webinar, it was a no-brainer, really something easy to say yes to because it's mutually beneficial for us in orientation programs. It's an opportunity to speak to a captive audience, and we know that you're really a bridge for us to connect with our students and pass along information. And so you are gaining information related to our processes and dates and ways of going about things, but also in the end, we're also being able to connect with our students through your support. So really excited to be here to join you for your guide to orientation, hosted by Orientation Programs, as Kelsey mentioned. My name is Stephen Dolan, coordinator for orientation programs. Two-man team, myself and our assistant director, Nate Taylor, oversee orientation programs and the undergraduate orientation for freshmen and transfer in both the spring and summer semesters. So we'll do our best to cover as much information as possible tonight. Again, orientation focused, but hopefully giving you a good scope of what we have to offer in the coming few months for your incoming Red Hawk. And so just to give a quick overview of our webinar today, and if I glance up and seemingly above the camera, it's because of my two monitors. So I have the presentation up above, but I'll be able to look down and connect with you via the chat. I'll try to keep an eye on the chat as well on my main screen here. So we'll cover the orientation requirements, what is expected of our incoming students over the next few months to really satisfy that undergraduate orientation requirement, what dates you need to be aware of for both students and families. What are the orientation dates? And I'll be sure to specifically focus on the in-person dates. I know that's the one many people have questions about because of the logistics that come with in-person orientation dates, getting your student there, making sure you're in the country, traveling, whatever that might be. We'll cover the dates needed for students and families. We'll go over the orientation portal, how students will actually register and confirm their assigned orientation day, the schedules for each orientation day, just to give you a quick glance at what a typical orientation day may look like for yourself or for your student. And then I'll jump into some move-in and other requirement information. And at the end, I'll round it out with contacting orientation programs, giving you all the different communication channels that we have available for your student to reach out to contact us and get their orientation all squared away. So that's how we'll proceed through the webinar. And again, I'm watching the participant number climb. It looks like it's leveled out now. So 170 plus of you joining us this evening. We really do appreciate you being here and kind of showing this investment in your student. And those of you who are watching the recording after the fact, we appreciate you staying in the know and allowing us this platform to share the information that we feel is important for your incoming students. So I'll jump into the orientation requirements. And it's a three-part requirement for your incoming student. All students must complete the New to the Nest online learning modules in Canvas. And we do it on Canvas because that's where your students' classes will be held. So they're getting familiar with the platform. If it's not something they've used in high school, This course is fully on Canvas, so they're getting used to the platform. This recently became available earlier this week and is due at the end of July. The second piece is an Orientation Plus webinar. This is a 1-hour webinar similar to what we're doing today on Zoom. So a student can log on from anywhere. It is not an in-person requirement. They're held throughout June and August on select dates, and those days are available for viewing and for registration on the orientation portal. And lastly is our Ready to Soar. And this is that one day on campus orientation day. When you picture orientation, when you picture dropping your student off at orientation, it's that Ready to Soar orientation day. Your students will be meeting faculty, advisors, orientation leaders, like the one pictured on the right-hand side, and their fellow students. So we do have a number of orientation days available, and we assign students to these days strategically. And I'll cover that in a few slides, but students can confirm this assigned orientation day on the orientation portal. So it's that Ready to Soar day when you have questions about when is my student's orientation, the in-person component. When I say Ready to Soar, that is essentially that on-campus piece. So Ready to Soar dates, as I mentioned, and I'll take this slide one at a time. I don't want to overload you with information, so I'll allow you to process and even take screenshots if you need. But all of the days for Ready to Soar are listed on the left-hand side here. I broke them down by student type because that is a factor in which students get assigned which orientation day in the orientation portal. So our first day, we do have a standalone day in July on the 16th for our transfer students. We find that sometimes transfer students have made their mind up and are a little bit ahead of the game and ready to get orientation done and get started for the fall semester. So we do have one day throughout the summer for our transfer students, but the bulk of our orientation programs happen in mid to late August. So if you're a family member of a freshman incoming student, your student will be assigned an orientation day one of the days listed on the screen here. We kick off on Wednesday, August 19th, and we go through Friday, August 21st, and then we pick right back up on that following week on Monday, August 24th to get to Tuesday, August 25th, before rounding it out with our transfer session on Wednesday, August 26th. The dates and times are listed there as well. You'll notice that a freshman orientation day is a little bit longer than a transfer orientation day. Different programs, different audience, different needs is kind of the backstory behind the decision to have those programs at certain times. And we'll go over the schedules for each day in a little bit. But take this in, if your student has already signed up for one of these orientation days, they are set. But if you're a little bit curious of maybe in what general time frame will my student's orientation day be, it'll be one of the days that is listed on the left-hand side. And just to go a little bit into detail about how students are assigned these orientation days, it's based on a few different factors, and one of those being freshmen and transfers. So as you can see, we have certain days specific for freshmen and another set of days specific for our transfer students. We take it one step further and we do break it down by residents and commuters. And so I didn't want to provide all of the breakdowns within each day, but you can kind of deduce what your student, which date your student might fall into. But our commuters, we typically have our commuters come in those first 3 freshman orientation days because that is prior to new student move-in. So commuters are able to attend orientation. It's not dependent on when they're moving in. So you'll find that commuter freshman days are either the 19th, the 20th, or the 21st. And then it breaks down one more piece by major, college, or program. So within these orientation days, there are certain colleges who are represented on certain days. So if your student is a business major, not every single orientation day might feature the School of Business or might host students from the School of Business. So that might break down and kind of decide which day your student is assigned by. It can be by major or college as well. So as I mentioned, a student lives on campus, they'll be assigned a move-in day prior to their orientation day. When it's a commuter, it'll be one of the first 3 days. If you can't make that work, you might be able to be moved. But our residential students, you will not be expected to move in and go to orientation on the same day. And so for my family members who maybe had questions about whether you have to do both or worried that move-in might be after orientation, we work with Residence Life to ensure that programs are set up in a way where your student's move-in day will be prior to your student's orientation day. Students who cannot attend their orientation day There is a way to view other dates that are available via the orientation portal. It'll prompt a student to say, you've been assigned to a certain day. Can you attend orientation on that day? If they select no for that answer, they would then see a page that opens up the other opportunities and other dates that are available. But again, they won't have every date available to them because it's based on so many different factors. So some students might have 1 to 2 different options. But if neither of those options work, you can always reach out to our office. And one of the last slides of the presentation will be all of our contact information there.
Stephen, are these dates available for families to attend with their student?
Yes. So getting to that, it's in a slide in a couple of slides. Parent, I will cross that bridge in a slide or two. Family orientation dates. So my families who are interested in attending orientation, I guess this is a good bridge for the question that was asked. There is no formal program taking place on undergraduate orientation days for family members to attend. What we've done is we've taken that family orientation piece and moved it into mid-July because of the timeline and because of the information that is important for families at that time. We found that having a family program concurrent with our student program, it's post when the bill is due, it's post when class schedules are received. A lot of stuff has already happened throughout the summer, so we really wanted a touch point with our family members earlier in the summer than our student orientation days may be offered. Families are invited to attend a family orientation session listed on the screen here with their student. As I mentioned, no formal program will take place during those Ready to Soar orientation days. You are welcome to bring your student to orientation. This is not forcing you to drop them off, make them go on their own. You are welcome to bring your student to orientation. We may have a bit of an informal type of program to kick off the day, but essentially, if you do intend to wait for your student throughout their orientation day, you'll have the campus to yourself. You'll really be able to kind of give yourself a self-guided tour if you so choose. But on a student's orientation day, that is student focused, and so there is no formal program. So if you were to attend with your student, you'd be showing up, as I mentioned, maybe an informal program, but be waiting for your student to finish up their orientation day. So for these family orientation dates, we have two that are available in English and one that we're really excited about. It's our second year hosting this program, Orientación Familiar, which is family orientation delivered entirely in Spanish. And so if that's more conducive to your needs, to your family's needs, if you have relatives who'd like to attend, that offering is available on Tuesday, July 21st. So take a second to review the offerings. Space is limited for students who were to register and attend with their family members. The registration is free, but for families, it is $40 per guest for lunch, use of the space, swag that you might pick up during the day. There is a fee. Registration for these dates is available on the orientation portal. Bloomfield orientation, I did just want to include some information in case we have any Bloomfield families in the audience today or viewing the recording after the fact. Bloomfield College of Montclair State University do have their own program hosted on the Bloomfield campus. Their program, Ready to Roar, in comparison to Ready to Soar, is on Wednesday, August 26th. Registration for this is on the orientation portal for all students. It is important to note that Bloomfield students are not required to attend the Orientation Plus Zoom webinar. And families may register for their own family orientation hosted at the Bloomfield campus. For Bloomfield families, that'll be on Wednesday, July 29th, and a virtual option will be available on Wednesday, August 4th. So slightly different than what the Montclair campus offers. For Bloomfield students, it's all condensed onto one day, but families, still plenty of options for you to connect with the Bloomfield campus, either on campus on Wednesday, July 29th, or virtually on August 4th. Alrighty, the orientation portal, I've mentioned it a few times. I have referred to the orientation portal. This might be where some of your students are stuck or is the spot where they left off at most recently. We've had a lot of students already enter the orientation portal and confirm their assigned orientation day. And so I did want you all to become familiar with the platform that your students are using, hopefully on a daily or weekly basis. There's a screenshot of the orientation portal there. What your student might see if they were to log in for the first time. And it might seem like a lot at first, but the task list is dynamic, where each task will open up as the task above it is completed. So you can see just by looking at the task list that this is where a student will register for their Orientation Plus webinar, one of those required pieces of their undergraduate orientation. That's where they'll secure their orientation day reservation, and also where they will sign up for summer family orientations based on the dates that I listed previously. So they'll put in their family information, sign up for a family orientation day. And then a couple of other remaining task list items are highly encouraged. That'll help them. A couple of them are, you can see a questionnaire, a couple of surveys, and some of them are automated steps that'll check off when a student submits their ID photo, for example, that'll dynamically satisfy on the orientation task list to show that their ID has been uploaded and confirmed. So for students to access the orientation portal, if they have questions, or if you were yourself curious about accessing or knowing where your student can access the orientation portal, it is located on Nest, and instructions are being sent on a recurring basis to your student from the orientation portal specifically. So if your student hasn't accessed their Moncler email just yet, I highly encourage them to do so. There is instructions probably waiting in their inbox for them to view a direct link directly to the orientation portal, view their task list, and start registering for the webinar and their in-person orientation day. So just to break down the orientation task list a little bit, students register for the Orientation Plus Zoom webinar, as I mentioned. Within that second task list item, they'll be confirming their assigned orientation day. Students can add their family information and register for family orientation. It is optional, and so if you do not need or see a need to attend one of the family orientation days offered, a student can simply select that my family and I do not wish to attend, and that'll satisfy that task list item. And then reviewing necessary onboarding steps, as I mentioned, the photo ID upload, immunizations, Canvas modules. So tracking at the very bottom, you can see new to the Nest, another one of those required pieces for undergraduate orientation. All of that can be tracked on the orientation portal. So it's a one-off platform. A student will use it to register for orientation and track some of their onboarding requirements. And to access that, they can simply log into Nest. It should be on a quick link along the left-hand side when they log in. And then also we are sending instructions on a daily basis to students to access the orientation portal. So just so that you're familiar with the platform, what it might look like, what is expected, what it is used for you to pass along to your student, hopefully help them become a little bit more familiar with the platform and use it for its intended purpose to register for orientation as soon as possible. The sooner we get a student locked into their assigned orientation day, the better and easier it is for us to plan for their arrival. Wanted to cover the orientation schedule for freshmen, for transfer, and for families. So you'll see on a freshman schedule I mentioned earlier, with each date, our freshman orientation days are 9 to 4. And so a little breakdown of how that time is spent, how your student will be spending time at orientation. We'll check in, and during check-in, as a student check-in, they'll immediately be met with their orientation leaders and grouped up so that they have some time to connect with their orientation leaders and their fellow students who have attended orientation on the same day. We'll take them to get a welcome to Red Hawk Country and Memorial Auditorium. And this they'll hear from campus leadership, university police, student communications. They'll meet the orientation leaders. That's really a high energy session for our students to kick off their orientation day. And we are, for the second time, having a keynote speaker during that session as well. So that's really the kickoff of a student's orientation day. And from there, it's a lot of moving pieces. Half of the group will go to lunch at a certain time, where half of the group spends a little bit more time with their orientation leader, and then those two groups alternate. So the group that was with their orientation leaders will then go to lunch, where the group at lunch will then spend some time with their orientation leaders. They'll wrap that up and then head to a really important piece of their orientation day, and really the basis behind why we break down our orientation days by college is that each orientation day features an academic connection portion where students are meeting with faculty and advisors within their college. And so we put certain students on certain days because we want the Feliciana School of Business, for example, to be available and to have an academic connection session on a day where Feliciano School of Business students are in attendance. It's a great opportunity for students to ask questions. Some of our sessions are within a week of the first day of classes, so they're able to, make minor adjustments if needed, connect with their faculty, ask about what classes might be like. So every orientation for our students includes this academic connections component and is the reason why we break it down by college. And orientation ends with a resource fair, kind of a free-for-all, meet campus partners. If you met someone or heard from someone earlier in the day and you want to connect with them further and ask additional questions, the resource fair is a great time for you to do that and get some free stuff as well. So the resource fair is how we wrap up just about every orientation day that we host here at Montclair. You'll notice that the schedule for transfers is a little bit more condensed. We do kick off at 12 o'clock. It is more of a half-day program, but still including all of the components that make orientation special and orientation really important. At Montclair, event check-in doesn't start till 12. OL group time kicks off similarly to a freshman's schedule as students check in. They'll meet and group up with their orientation leaders, go right into Red Hawk Country. You'll notice there's maybe a little bit less OL group time for our transfer students. We want to get them right into their academic connections, meet with their advisors, talk about what it's like pursuing academics at Montclair, how it's different from the institution that they might be transferring in from. So we keep that component, and of course, we keep our signature resource fair at the end of the day for transfer students as well. And lastly, the orientation schedule for families. So if you're curious, I shared the family orientation days if it's the first time you've heard of these family orientation days being offered. Happy to have given you ample notice. But if you're still a little bit curious what that day may be like, if it's worth attending, if it's worth, bringing the whole family to support during one of those family orientation days, this kind of gives you an idea of what to expect during that day. So it's a 9 to 3 program. Event check-in starts at 9 a.m. You'll hear from SDCL leadership, that is the Division of Student Development and Campus Life, of which orientation programs is housed underneath. You'll hear from Student Communications and the the Dean of Students Office. We'll jump into Talking College, which is a really interactive activity that allows you to discuss and connect with other Montclair family members to discuss questions, common concerns, really asking questions about what it's like to support a student, not just a college student in general, but a college student on Montclair's campus. There's lunch and a student life panel at 12 o'clock. And then we like to keep the afternoon of these summer family orientations open for your choosing. So you really have an opportunity to choose what session you'd like to go to. If you've attended an accepted students day in the past, or maybe even an open house in the past, similar setup as those events where we'll have a lot of different opportunities offered from that 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock block. And really, you can do what you feel is the most important for you. If you haven't gotten a tour, we'll have tours available to take you around campus. Meet with financial aid if that's a pressing concern for you. Meet with the different academic programs. We are still offering our resource fair if you need to talk to all of the different Montclair departments at once. But really, that's a choose your session, those types of programs. Tours, financial aid, meetups, resource fair, those will be offered on a recurring basis. So you're not missing anything by going to something else, but really you'll be able to kind of use your time wisely and choose what session is best for your student or best for your questions or concerns that you have at that time. So that's our summer family orientation schedule. If you hadn't previously considered attending one of those family orientations, I would talk with your student as soon as you can to make sure that they sign you up on the orientation portal. That is the only way to register for family orientation. It is through the student's orientation portal. So if you're interested to bring your student and other family members to a family orientation session, we would really love to have you. So I know another couple of pressing concerns might be related to move-in and some of the other requirements that are required of students. And so the information, if you can't tell already, I'm a very orientation focused. It's my expertise. It's what I'm paid to do. But we understand that orientation becomes kind of this melting pot of different questions. And so the information I'm providing, I'm not a representative for Residence Life or for other areas that I might be touching upon. And so information for those departments, it would be best to reach out to them directly. But I wanted to at least provide some sort of an overview. If you have any basic questions related to move-in and other requirements, do my best to at least address some of the basic information that might ease some of your concerns over the next few months. So, fall 2026 move-in and fall 2026 class schedules might be some of the questions or concerns on your mind at this point. And just to give a general blanket date range for you to plan accordingly, move-in for new students will take place between Sunday, August 23rd and Tuesday, August 25th. As I mentioned, orientation for residential students will be held ideally the day after your student moves into their residence hall. Students, similarly to orientation, are assigned specific move-in days and times. Similar to orientation, it's just the best option from a logistics standpoint with the amount of students that we have attending orientation, the amount of students that live on campus. It's a lot more easy when students are assigned those specific day and times. Now, you might be wondering, I'm assigned a specific day and time. What is that day and time? That information I can't promise any earlier than Monday, August 3rd. Details will be sent by that date, and that might feel like a lifetime from now. It's 2 months and 1 day away. So I know it might be hard to hear that this really important information that you really need to plan around won't become available until potentially the beginning of August. But that's the reality of residence life and the amount of students that we have moving in. So details will be sent to your students' Montclair email by Monday, August 3rd, related to their move-in day, move-in time, move-in assignment. All of that information will be sent at this point. If you haven't heard it, that is expected. That is normal if you haven't heard that information. And so that email will be sent to students' emails by Monday, August 3rd. Fall 2026 class schedules. The most pressing thing for your student to complete is the first year schedule questionnaire. The deadline did pass, but at this point, it's for students who maybe have just deposited to get that done as soon as possible. It's located within their admissions portal to get that first year schedule questionnaire done. And advisors will use the responses to those questions to really create a fall schedule for your student that might not be perfect, but is important for them to get started. It has all the requirements for their first semester and some major courses, maybe some electives. They're using the responses to the questions on the questionnaire to put together your student's fall schedule. That is for freshmen specifically. For transfers, you will connect with an academic advisor to register yourself for classes, but for freshmen, advisors use responses in the questionnaire to create the schedule for freshman students. Adjustments can be made after schedules are received, and schedules typically come out around mid-July. So again, another one of those pieces that you might have questions that are top of mind right now, and that information just simply is not available just yet. It takes a while for students to get their schedules created, but it's an actual advisor who's taking the time to look at your students' answers to put together the best schedule for them. So that process does often take time. So adjustments can be made if certain times don't work and students work. We understand those adjustments can be made after schedules are received. So just some important information related to move-in and class schedules that I felt was important, and many questions that might be surrounding those two topics. I wanted to at least provide some basic information moving forward. Other requirements that might be important, that might be relevant to your student and your student specific situation. ID card photo submission, one of those things that we track on the orientation portal. All photo submissions must be completed online. There are no photo services provided on campus. So if you think your student can go in like it's the DMV and get their picture taken, that's not the case. They actually get to choose what photo gets put on their ID card, which I think is a benefit to the student. The priority deadline for that is July 31st. So something that your student should do, has some time to do, but should get done as soon as possible. The linked e-accounts will be included on the orientation portal, as I showed on the screenshot a couple slides ago. They'll be able to track whether their photo has been uploaded and received on the orientation portal specifically. Immunizations are really important as well. The priority deadline also has passed, but it is one of those rolling deadlines where it's as soon as possible after you deposit, after a student were to deposit. All submissions are completed online through the My Health portal, and that status is also tracked in the orientation portal. So if students have questions specific to their immunizations, or specific to their ID cards, all information is included on the orientation portal, and they're able to track the status of both of those on that platform as well. Couple of other things that your students should be aware of heading into their first semester at Montclair. I do really want to plug Welcome Week. This is intended for students specifically, so it's a week of programming, activities, experiences, spaces. That picture on the left is a live look at our tropical bash that we host each Welcome Week, intended to foster both a sense of belonging and community. So if you're worried, is your student going to have a community? Is your student going to have events to go to, things to do, especially during that first week that we can find to be so challenging for students in transition? Welcome Week is really designed to ease that transition, help foster that sense of belonging, and really expose them to the Montclair community all before and right after classes begin. So I know it's a lot of um, change and a lot of guessing, but really our Welcome Week programs are intended to be that fun, that distraction away from all the craziness that might come with transferring or starting at Montclair State University. So make sure your students are aware of Welcome Week. Nothing actionable to do just yet for Welcome Week. This really runs concurrent with orientation. Your student might have orientation during the day and Welcome Week programs offered at the end of the day that day. So make sure your student is aware that this Welcome Week program does exist. We do encourage them to attend and make the most of all the programs that are offered throughout that week. And Red Hawk Day, you might have heard this thrown around a few times. You might be curious what it is. It's really the culmination and the opening day of our campus. It's the day before the fall semester begins, so it's on Thursday, August 27th, with classes starting on Friday, August 28th. Full of activities. That is a picture from one of the last two Red Hawk days where we brought a carnival to campus, which we plan to do again. And you can see, again, right before classes begin, just a space for students to interact with each other. There is a student involvement fair that takes place during Red Hawk Day as well. So students can peruse what organizations are on campus, what they might want to be involved in, and also just take a load off and have a fun at a classic carnival towards the end of the summer, getting ready for the fall semester. Again, one of those iconic and tradition days for our campus, full of Red Hawk pride. We really want students to be in attendance for Red Hawk Day. At orientation, they'll receive a free t-shirt, a free Red Hawk Day t-shirt that they're encouraged to wear at their orientation, at Red Hawk Day. They'll get it at orientation and are invited to wear it at Red Hawk Day. So I know that information thus far has been general. So I'm sharing all of the orientation days and all of the family orientation days and very basic move-in information. I know a lot of questions come through that are specific to your student, that is specific to your situation. And so I did want to provide some information on how you can contact orientation programs moving forward. First, I did want to provide just some answers to some FAQs that we've seen in the past. Questions about Montclair orientation, if this is a question that's been top of mind, we can provide the answer right here. So can students change their assigned orientation day? I know by saying that a date is assigned, and I even mentioned they might not have many other options. If a student does have other eligible orientation days, those days can change within the orientation portal. As I mentioned earlier, if they select no, I cannot attend the date I was assigned to, it'll show the other options that are available to the student. Can family members attend Ready to Soar? And this was one of the questions that we had midway through the webinar. And I tried to answer it the best. If I wasn't clear, undergraduate orientation events like Ready to Soar, like the ones I just shared, Welcome Week, Red Hawk Day, those are for students only. So that's why we kind of took that family orientation piece, made it its own standing event in the middle of July, specific for family members. So that information can be delivered specifically to you. Parents and family members, you can drop your students off at check-in and meet up with your student at the end of orientation at the resource fair. But really, we're encouraging students and families to attend those summer family orientation sessions in July. And again, it'll be a conference style orientation session, some planned and structured sessions, with the afternoon being a more choose your adventure, whatever you think is the best use of your time throughout that day. And then are there makeup orientation sessions for students? Yes, so sessions will be available during the add drop week going into early September, and those are held virtually on Zoom. So for students who have a non-refundable vacation, a strict conflict with any of the orientation days that are provided in person and on campus, we can place them into a virtual makeup orientation on Zoom. Those are not visible to students at this time. We really want to urge and encourage them to sign up and confirm their assigned orientation day. So if that is a case for any students, we encourage them to reach out to us directly to be scheduled for one of those makeup orientation sessions. Again, this is after orientation ends, after the first day of class during the add drop week of the fall semester. We offer these makeup orientation sessions on Zoom. So those are some of the typical questions that we see regarding orientation. And if it was one of your questions, hopefully that was a great answer for you there. But if you have a question that goes beyond some of those FAQs, please use one of our 4 email channels that are available to you. Email is staffed by the entire orientation programs department. So myself, our assistant director, we have 3 graduate coordinators, 2 student assistants. We make sure that we're monitoring the email very closely and not falling behind. So typically you can receive a response in a couple of days. Phone, if you call us directly, 973-655-4162. Really, we encourage students, and email for that matter as well. We really encourage students to reach out on their own behalf. We will need a student's CWID in order to look up their student profile and make any changes. So really encourage your student to be the one to reach out and ask the questions related to their orientation day. There is a live chat when one of our agents is, and I say agents, but really it's one of the members of the orientation staff are logged into our live chat system. You'll see it pop up in the bottom right-hand corner of our website. So if you're on the website, you're looking, you're not finding the information you need, you can pop in and send us a quick live chat, and we'll be sure to answer that as soon as we can. And then virtual drop-ins start next week. These will be weekly on Tuesday and Wednesday throughout June through August. The Zoom registration link has been added to our website, and it's now being sent to students via email. So I mentioned there are instructions for accessing the orientation portal being sent to students. Within that email, the link to virtual drop-ins are there. So that's on Zoom, and we started those last year just to do a little bit of a face-to-face interaction. Zoom allows the opportunity to share screen. So if you just can't believe what you're seeing, you want us to see it for ourselves, you're able to share your screen. We can work through any orientation portal issues there. But I did want to make a note in the top right-hand corner that summer hours are in effect. So the university currently operates on a 4-day schedule, Monday through Thursday from 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. So if you're calling on Friday, you're emailing on Friday, and you're wondering why you're not getting a response, summer hours are in effect Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. But during those times, we really encourage you to use whichever platform works well for you. We're on top of the email. We have plenty of people answering the phones, and our virtual drop-ins is another opportunity for you to connect with us face to face. Alrighty, with that being said, I will open up the floor for questions. I was trying to keep an eye on the Q&A throughout the webinar, and I see some questions coming in now. But I will ask Kelsey if any common questions are popping up in the chat, and I'd be able to answer or do my best at least.
There were a few questions in the beginning that I answered on what was the real difference between family orientation and student orientation. If families don't attend with their student, will they miss out on anything?
So yeah, let me go back just to. So a family member attending the Ready to Soar date with their student won't miss out on anything. As I said, there may be an informal program where we get family members who brought their students to orientation together. But really that is a student-specific day. We're providing information specifically to students. On these family orientation days, if you choose not to attend, that's essentially when you would be missing the most. So that's information directly tailored to our family members. And we encourage students to come along with their family members for these orientation sessions as well, so that you're learning together in a shared environment. So that's the main difference. Some of the information for families We get a little bit more specific in terms of financial aid and the dean of students. You're really learning about how we support students at Montclair because we know that's an important topic for family members. So attending the family orientations in July are the most important, but attending or trying to attend the Ready to Soar date with your student in August, you will be separated from your student for the majority of that day and meet up with them at the end of that day.
Okay, great. I had some questions about advising too, about the advisors creating their schedules, and if they needed to do anything. I know there's the first year checklist. Um,
Yeah. So really for advisors to create schedules, the most actionable and really only actionable thing your student needs to do right now is fill out that first year schedule questionnaire. It might feel like this weird. I did the questionnaire. I haven't heard anything for X amount of weeks. Patience is a virtue. Advisors will be working on the schedule. If you don't receive a schedule, I'd say by mid to late July, or if a student doesn't receive a schedule, then I would prompt you to reach out. But it's a lengthy process. But the only thing that a student would need to do at that time is fill out the first year schedule questionnaire.
and what if you're a transfer student?
Transfer students will be contacted by an academic advisor. You're actually registering for classes yourselves, so it is a difference from the freshman students. Um, you'll be contacted by an academic advisor to help build your class schedule with you. So it's not a questionnaire and schedule created type of process. Transfers are the ones actually building their own fall schedule, and plenty of time to do so throughout the summer, but they will be contacted by an academic advisor to do so.
Question about Welcome Week. Is
Yeah.
it the same as what some schools call Frosh Week? I don't know what that is.
Um, I suppose Frost Week sounds a little bit more informal. Welcome Week is all university sanctioned events, all hosted by departments on campus and other organizations on campus. So Welcome Week is strictly events that are being hosted on campus. Um, and I wouldn't call it Frost Week because it is open to all students. So transfer students, freshman students, students who may have moved in already and want to partake in some of the Welcome Week events, happy to have students there as well. But yes, it is really that first week, kind of that downtime between move-in and the first day of class, where, students, if they're bored, who knows what they'll get up to. We really want to give them something productive and something engaging for them to do on campus. So it's that first week of events, kind of filling that downtime between move in and that first day of classes.
Back to academic advising, can freshmen choose their academic advisor?
No. So the academic advisors are assigned to students within their college. A lot of colleges have dedicated academic advisors for that college specifically. And so a student in the Feliciano School of Business is not going to get an academic advisor that is an academic advisor for all colleges on campus. They're advisors for School of Business students specifically. So there is no process for selecting a specific academic advisor, but one will be assigned to your student within the college or major that your student is pursuing.
And then I've seen this one a few times too. If students are attending the summer bridge program, do they still have to attend orientation or can they still attend family and regular orientation?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I know the requirements do alter a little bit for our summer bridge students and EOF students included. For summer bridge and EOF students, any students in a summer program, they do not have to complete the Orientation Plus webinar requirement. We often host those webinars during times that they'll be in programs for Summer Bridge or EOF. So students in EOF Summer Bridge do not have to attend the Orientation Plus webinar. They do still have to attend the on-campus Ready to Soar orientation program. And we do encourage, if the time permits, that their family members attend and join us for a family orientation in July. The only thing that EOF or Summer Bridge students do not have to do is that Orientation Plus webinar. But other than that, welcome to come to family orientation in July and still required to attend on campus Ready to Soar orientation, the ones listed on the screen here, with the rest of their incoming class.
Mhm. And I saw a few comments about freshmen bringing their cars. We do not allow freshmen to have their cars on campus if they are housing. Obviously, commuters may be different. No, you cannot pay extra to get them to bring their cars. We do have metered lots, so if your student wants to pay the meter all the time, that is totally up to them. Um, but we do have parking services that goes around. Stephen, do you know if Summer Bridge students are allowed to bring their cars during the summer?
I don't know for sure.
Okay, I don't know either, so I can write that one down and get back
Yeah.
to you, whoever asked that. Um, I know there's a lot of questions about roommates. ResLife will be communicating with your student to their Montclair email. So make sure that your student has claimed their net ID, has access to their Montclair email, and is watching their email in the coming weeks as they will communicate that selection process. If your student wants a specific roommate, they will be able to participate in the pull-in process and pull their roommate into that room. They would have to communicate and see who has the earlier selection time. So ResLife will be communicating, and I will be trying to plan a ResLife webinar because I know there are a lot of questions about that. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah. I'm seeing a couple. Is Red Hawk Day the official start of the fall semester? We like to call it that. The official start of the fall semester is the first day of class on Friday, August 28th, but Red Hawk Day is just a day prior, really kicking off the fall semester. What the $40 charge per family member covers during a family orientation. Again, it's that lunch and use of the space. So I know it sounds a little odd. We work at Montclair and we're hosting a program at Montclair, but spaces like the conference center, spaces like Memorial Auditorium, do make money off of hosting programs from other departments on campus. So a lot of that fee goes into that. And can students get a tour of dorms on an orientation day? No, but you will, if you're speaking in terms of a family member of a residential student, um, your student will have moved in by then. So what better tour than moving into the dorm the day before orientation? So we won't take students to tours on an actual orientation day. By virtue of the orientation day, you students do cover a lot of ground going from one place to another. Think of it as a tour, but not specifically going over to the dorms and seeing the dorms on an orientation day.
Mhm. I put the link to apply for housing in the chat. I do think that the deposit was due May 1st. You may be able to still submit it, but your student will not get priority in that housing selection process. This was communicated to them when they accepted the application, and it has been in emails. So I know that that might be a little tricky there, but let's see what else. I saw a few more that I may
I've
be
got three
in.
lined up that I could go
Go ahead.
rapid fire. This was an interesting one. Will roommates be assigned the same orientation date? Um, can't promise it'll be one of the Monday or Tuesday freshman orientation days, but again, at that point, it'll depend on their major. So assuming that they're both residential students, obviously they are roommates. It would then determine or be determined by their major or college. So not totally random, but can't guarantee that it'll be the same orientation day. Second, when is school tuition due for the fall semester? Typically in mid to early August is when the bill is due. And the bill comes out and is announced shortly before that. So you're not missing that announcement just yet. It is a couple of months away, but school tuition is due for the fall semester in August. And if I can't attend my assigned orientation day nor the other later days, may I reach out to the school or is that over? It is never over. There are plenty of options for you. If you cannot attend any of the days that are being offered, please reach out to us directly. So we'll be able to place you into one of those virtual makeup orientation sessions on Zoom. Um, and that'll be again during the add drop period of the fall semester. So write us a nice email. We'll be able to share what days and times are available. But right now, that process is completely manual by the orientation staff. So you'll have to reach out to us to get placed into one of those virtual makeup orientation sessions on Zoom.
Um, there is a parent in here, Tonya, that says Summer Bridge students can bring their car for $50 fee. Um, I'm not confirming. I don't really know, but there may be a possibility apparently. So that's great.
Awesome.
I see a few questions about the health insurance waiver. The form is not available yet. If you want to know about the process, you can look up on our website health insurance waiver, and that process will come up on one of the web pages. All of your questions, I promise you, we will be communicating to you through Family News, New Student News, and into your student's email, their Montclair email. We will not communicate to their personal email. So make sure that they are logged in and reading those emails, because all of these processes we will tell your student about. So if your student ever says, I did not know about that, yes, they did. They just didn't check their email. So we will be communicating all of this, but we just haven't gotten there yet. But I love that you guys are so eager and ready for your student to start at Montclair. This is awesome. So we have 10 more minutes. We'll continue to answer some questions. I see a lot about commuter freshman parking. Um, Commuters will purchase a parking pass for the entire year. If you look up Montclair parking, you will find the rates, different options if you would like to explore different price ranges. So you can look up that. I also see commuter meal plans. There is a mandatory uh, commuter meal plan, or at least a deposit, and that will get them food on campus. Again, you can look that up, commuter meal plans, on our website, and it will tell you everything you need to know about that, but we will also be communicating it.
Yeah, I see a question about enrollment coaching. I hate to be like give a very basic answer, but if you were to just search Montclair enrollment coaching, it'll be one of the first things that come up. It's hosted by undergraduate admissions. And so throughout June and July, you can actually connect with an admissions counselor or another member of Montclair's administration. But really, I don't have the link on hand. It is kind of its own platform. But if you were to look up enrollment coaching Montclair, um, you can sign up for a day. I believe it's almost daily throughout June and July. So if that's something that's helpful, it's really a setting like this where you can rapid fire as many questions as you like. So enrollment coaching is something that I do want to plug. That information is available on the undergraduate admissions website.
I also see some questions about the bill. Like Stephen said, it's usually available late August. I think maybe it's even early September. I know a lot of these processes you want to get done right away, but there's a lot of forms that have to be done, and it takes some time to get these things into place. So you guys are active very early, which is amazing, but a lot of these things are not available yet. So they will be coming very shortly. August is like when most of these things will be coming, but we will be informing you along the way as things become available. So I'm sorry I can't give you more information about that right now.
Yeah, I do want to use that also to just review again the family orientation days and really the thought behind offering them in July. Um, by the time orientation came around, we used to do family orientation at the same time and day as the student orientation, but so much had been done already. And so, really having these programs available in July, that's a spot for you to really check in with all of the requirements, get some information before everything is expected of you throughout August. And so family members are encouraged to take advantage of those programs. And I know a lot of the processes feel like hurry up and wait. But the more ahead of the game you are, the more ahead of the game your student is, the better. And so a lot of information is forthcoming. And so the most important is to have your student remain glued to their Montclair email. Make sure that that's set up. Make sure that they're registered for orientation. And then a lot of that information is going to be sent by Kelsey and her fantastic team from Student Communications to your students' Montclair emails. So it's really important that they keep an eye there.
I just saw one that I thought was really good to answer. Where did it go? This Zoom is recorded and will be sent to your emails. So if you missed anything earlier on, if you want to just review, maybe go over it with your student, I will be sharing a recording right in your inbox. So you'll be able to have this to your disposal. I see just a question about toilet tissue in the chat. There is a big list on the Residence Life website of what to bring and what not to bring. And I do believe toilet tissue is something that you should bring. There may be a role in there for your student to get started, but I can't promise anything. There is also a question about how many students per dorm. It depends on the dorm style. So I know Bone Hall is a freshman dorm. There is no AC in that one. I saw a question about that too. So I would encourage your student to bring a fan for that. That is a communal style resident hall. So there is two beds in one room and then a communal bathroom. Whereas Blanton, Denalo, and Machuga have suite style rooms for freshmen. So it's a bedroom with two rooms with a shared bathroom of another bedroom with two rooms. So a suite is four people technically in a space, but two people have that your own bedroom shared with a bathroom, if that made any sense. Stephen, if you want to fix anything I said there, feel free. Um,
Sounds good. I did see one of the most recent questions is activating their Montclair email. That's something that's already set up for students once they activate their NetID. And it's through Google. So if a student were to log in with their NetID at montclair.edu, typically it's their NetID is their last name, first initial, and a number. Sign in as you would any other Google account. Once your NetID is activated, log in, set it up, use your NetID at montclair.edu and password, and you'll have that Montclair email activated. All right.
Um, I'll answer just like maybe two more. And then if you have any other questions, again, we will be communicating this along the way, but you can always email orientation at Montclair. You can email Red Hawk News at Montclair, even reply to any email that you get from us that says Montclair State University. It does come back to us. So feel free to reply, ask the questions, and we will answer them for you. This was great because we know what questions you have. We can create some articles based on these and make sure that you're getting this information as fast as we can possibly give it to you. Um, I think we answered most of these. First day of class is what day is Red Hawk Day? The day
Red Hawk Day
after.
is Thursday, August 27th. First day class Friday, August 28th. I should mention it's on a Monday
Mm,
schedule. So you'll receive more information regarding that, but Friday, August 28th, but classes meet on a Monday schedule.
yes. All right. Well, thank you guys for coming on. Again, this will be shared. We took note of your questions and we'll share this information as soon as we possibly can. Remind your student to check their Montclair email once they have it activated just by activating their NetID. And you guys can check your email too, just like how you registered for the webinar today. We'll be emailing you that same way. We already sent you one, so if you haven't received it, take a look, but email us if you have any issues. And we are just here to support you and your student along the way as they're starting their Montclair journey. We want them to be successful. We want them to enjoy onboarding into our college. So happy to support you guys. All right. Thank you, Stephen. You did a wonderful
Of
job too.
course, of course. Great connecting with all of you. We look forward to seeing you at family orientation in July and welcoming your newest Red Hawks to undergraduate orientation in August. Thanks for having me.